My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today we have another watch from MMI. Now, I previously reviewed their turret diver as well as their chronograph, and MMI reached out to see if I wanted to borrow their new turret diver GMT for review. However, before we get to that review, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So for pricing and availability, this watch is available in 3 colorways. The price on the bracelet is $469 US, and the price on a leather or rubber strap is $449. I'll put a link to the MMI Watches website where you can place an order for one of these watches in the description below. The case is 40 millimeters in diameter, 47 millimeters lug to lug. It's 13.5 millimeters thick and then has a 22 millimeter lug width opening. Now this case is somewhat similar to the Seiko Samurai case with bold angular lugs. The mid case is primarily brush, but we do have nice high polished bevels on both the outer edge and inner edge of the lugs. The case back is a bit thick, but it's well balanced by the bezel on top. Also, the short lug to lug distance helps this watch stay planted on your wrist despite the case being quite flat overall. This is a solid case and it is on the heavy side, but the bracelet does counterbalance the head of the watch quite nicely. The stock bracelet starts at 22 millimeters. The solid end links have a quick release system, which is fantastic to see at this price point. The end links also have a solid connection to the head of the watch despite using that quick release style. The articulation of the bracelet against the back of the watch and between the links is both excellent, 2 factors that contribute to a more comfortable bracelet overall. The bracelet uses H-link style links, and they're completely brushed and taper from 22 down to 20, while the clasp jumps back up to 22 millimeters. The clasp is one we have seen on micro brands for a long time, this one being all brushed and signed with the MMI logo. The clasp operates with both a safety catch in addition to a twin trigger release. The scissor is fully milled and you do get 5 micro positions. This is a tried and true design, although we have started to see quick adjust clasps sneak into lower and lower price points, especially from brands like Notice. Finally, sizing is accomplished with very beefy screws. These are a pleasure to use. I love screw lengths, and the bigger screw style is much easier and less stressful to size. The screw in case back helps provide 300 meters of water resistance. The MMI logo and information about the watch are engraved into the case back. This watch is powered by the Seiko NH34 GMT. This is a hacking, hand-winding, 21,600 vibration per hour movement with a stated accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds a day and a power reserve of 41 hours. Now, and then obviously we have a GMT hand. This is a collar GMT style where the GMT is adjustable rather than the flyer GMT style where the hour hand is adjustable. Finally, as you can see from the time grapher, this one's running about +15 seconds a day in the dial up position. The 7mm screw down crown is signed and loomed as well with the MMI logo. Lume crowns are really fun, so I love this detail. Despite the aggressive crown guards, this larger size of the crown in combination with beefy knurling makes the watch easy to operate and wind via this crown. This watch has a flat sapphire crystal that's about 0.5 millimeter proud of the bezel. There's a faceted edge that will catch light, and then this crystal has been treated with anti-reflective coating. The 120 click unidirectional bezel has a nice knurling around the edge. However, it's a bit thin, which can make it a touch hard to grip. The action is very nice with a consistent and clicky action. Unfortunately, the alignment on this one is ever so slightly off, and then the insert is ceramic and they went with a dive bezel here. This does add quite a bit of functionality since you already have the GMT track printed on the dial, and I don't find a lot of use out of being able to track 3 time zones. The dial on this watch is a beautiful ice blue. It's also fully loomed. I was so impressed by the shade of color on the dial because I didn't realize you could get a full lume dial to look this vivid. More on that later in the lume shot. Now, this dial has a lot going on. Around the edge, we have the odd hour indicators for the GMT scale, as well as dashes for the minutes that are further subdivided. The minute dashes are black, whereas the dashes for the GMT hours are red. Moving in, we have MMI's Rotodate style, which displays the date with a small orange indicator that moves around those windows that are open into the dial. Then we have the MMI logo at 12, GMT, and a depth rating at 6. The hour indices are applied and filled with lume. And then, there's a lot going on, but after you get used to looking at the dial, it becomes much easier to parse data from. But initially, it can be a bit overwhelming. The hands on this watch are a big upgrade from the regular MMI diver. They are now gabled, so they catch light nicely and are filled with lume. The hour hand terminates right at the ring for the rotodate, and the minute hand stretches all the way to the end of the dial. The GMT hand has a large orange arrow, and the second hand is a simple stick with a red tip and a counterbalance. Now all of these hands are very easy to tell apart, and I just really like the handset overall on this watch. Okay, here is that Lume shot I was alluding to. Now the Lume on this watch is insane. We have Lume everywhere, dial, hands, bezel, and even that date indicator are lumed. This watch is an absolute flashlight. If you like Lume, this is the watch for you. So here's the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. As you can see, that short lug to lug helps quite a bit. Also from the side, the watch does appear a bit thinner in profile than its specification, but it does have a large presence and it is on the heavy side, so keep that in mind if you're considering this watch. So, pros and cons, starting with the pros. First, this dial is such beautiful color in addition to being fully lumed. Most of the full lume dials I have seen have a strange off-white color that I don't really care for, but this dial is a lovely color that doesn't betray that it's also a full lume dial. Second, speaking of that lume, wow, this is how you do lume. The lume is incredibly bright, and the way they utilize both blue and green is fantastic. You even get a touch of orange lume on that date indicator. Third, I've always been a huge fan of this date complication style. It's just a really fun and interesting way to display the date. Last, the hands on this watch are a huge step up from the hands used on their diver, so it's great to see that. As for cons, the watch overall is a bit busy. I think the combination of the date indicator, the GMT scale, and the dive bezel is a bit much. I'd love to see a version of this watch with just a smooth bezel with no insert. Second, it may just be this example, but the slight misalignment of the bezel does annoy me, but this is an issue that crops up on many watches across lots of different brands and price categories. As for comparables, there are quite a few GMT options these days. For a bit more, you could consider the Laurier Hydra GMT. That one's going to be powered by the Miyota 9075. For around the same price, you could check out the Notice Sector GMT. It's a fun and colorful GMT option, and you can check out a review of that watch on my channel. And then for less, if you don't mind quartz, the Q Timex GMT is a really fun GMT option, and I also have a review of that watch on the channel as well. So there you have it, the MMI GMT. What do you think about this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.